Hello, my Graphic Design 3 and Branding Theory students. I hope you're enjoying your rainy day off today. I wanted to record this video to give you something to work on today and over the weekend so that we can finish out this first unit project and then we can start something new next week. I will change the due date for everything on this unit to be next Tuesday. Off the top of my head, I don't know what day that is, but we will change this so that you have plenty of time to work on this throughout the weekend and you can turn it in by midnight on next Tuesday. So there are two major things that you're going to be turning in. If we go to our Learning Modules page, we'll scroll down. The first thing you're going to submit are your 30 concepts that we've come up with. These are those different prompts that we've been working through over the last couple of weeks. The only place you need to submit your 30 concepts, your Illustrator file, is to this top link up here. You do not have to submit anywhere else. And I'm specifically looking for a PDF of your design. To help you set this up, let me show you how I would do it. Now in my case, I'm working on my personal computer, so I didn't have the ones I was working on earlier, but this is one that a student did last year. All of your different squares should have only one design inside of them, and each one should correspond to the appropriate prompt that we used. When finished, you should have 30 total. Now if you have extra stuff on other layers or where you were playing with it, make sure to move those off of your artboards so that all of your different designs are nice and centered inside of each artboard that you have. To save a PDF of your Illustrator file, you simply have to go to File, down to Save As. We're going to give it our name, so Ivy Logo Concepts. And make sure the format you're saving it in is an Adobe PDF. I'm going to save mine to the desktop and hit Save. When it comes up with the dialog options, we can say Save to that as well. And that's it. That's all that you need to do to save a PDF of just the 30 designs that you've come up with. When you're ready, you'll upload them to this part of the Canvas page. Now going back to our modules page, the unit project, however, is where we're going to take 5 of your concepts and we're going to turn it into a presentation. So this will count as an exercise grade, but your project grade is going to come from setting these up as a presentation. So let me show you how to do that right now. First off, you'll notice that I have a PDF on how to make your logo presentation. Feel free to download these instructions and follow along with me. This video is also going to follow along with these instructions. The second thing I'm giving to you are some Photoshop mockup files, and these are going to be saved inside of a Google Drive. These mockup files are fantastic ways of being able to place your logo into existing photographs of different products to show what it would look like if they were actually made without actually having to pay to have these created. Now, I would recommend downloading each of these Photoshop files. You can do so by either clicking on the little 3 dots and downloading it this way, or if you want, you can click on the upper part of it and choose download and download the whole thing all together. These are relatively large files, so take some time to let them download. But once they're done, we'll get to them and I'll show you how to put your logo inside of each one. All right, going back to Illustrator, let's use this software to set up a document for our logo presentations. To do this, we'll go up to File and create a new document. The size of our artboard needs to be 8 inches wide and 10 inches tall. And we're going to do 5 different presentations, so let's choose 5 artboards. We're not going to need a bleed, but do make sure you're in RGB color mode for working. From here we can say Create, and this is going to give us all 5 of our different artboards. If your artboards are placed in a different order, that's okay. For what we're doing, it doesn't matter how they're laid out as long as you got all 5. The next thing we need to do is to make a set of guides on the inside of each one of our little working areas that we can use as a grid. To make these guides, I'm going to choose my rectangle tool. I'm going to zoom in for now and let's place one in the center of this artboard. By clicking once in the center, I'm going to type in a width of 7.5 by 9.5. This will give us a 1/4 inch margin on all sides. Now we want this to be centered perfectly inside of our artboard. So with your rectangle selected, we can go up to our alignment panel, make sure Align to Artboard is selected, and then you can click Align it horizontally and vertically. That'll place it nice directly in the center. Now to turn this rectangle into a grid we can work on, with it selected, go up to Object, go down to Path, and choose Split into Grid. This will take any object you have and be able to break it up into a number of rows and columns. In our case, we want to set the number of rows to be 5 and the number of columns to be 4. The size of it won't matter, but we do want to have a specific gutter. The gutter is going to be 0.125 inches. Same way for the columns, 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. When we say OK, you can see now we've got a row of perfectly squared off 4 by 5 squares. To place each one of these onto each artboard, let's select all of our squares. We'll go up to Edit and Copy. Then when we scroll over and select the next artboard, we can go to Edit and Paste in Place. And this will paste it directly on this artboard. Scroll over and do it again, Paste in Place. Do note that there is a Paste on All Artboards option. Sometimes this doesn't work, and so sometimes it'll actually paste it off of an artboard for whatever reason. I prefer to use Paste in Place because I know it'll work every time. So simply choose each artboard and paste in place for that one. Now that we're done, let's convert these to some guides. To make guides, I'm going to zoom out so I can see everything. We'll go up to Select All, and this will select everything that we have. Then we can go to View, down to Guides, and choose Make Guides. This is going to convert each one of your squares into guides that are blue when you deselect them, and they are not printable. We're going to use this as a setup for being able to place all of our different things within our layout. Now, if not done so already, go back up to View. Let's go down to our guides, and let's make sure our guides are locked by choosing Lock Guides. This way, we don't accidentally select them and move them around. Also, return to View, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and make sure Snap to Point is checked on. We want to be able to snap to the individual points that are here when we start laying out our different stuff. Now that we're done with this, we can start to lay out where we want each zone for our stuff to be. If you look in the handout that I gave you, you can see we're going to use a gray rectangle to give different zones for these 4 different things. You're going to show your color logo, a single color logo, an alternate color logo, some color swatches, and also a mock-up of your logo. And I've given you some examples of how we can divide up your 4 by 5 grid. Please note, you don't have to do each one of these. You only have to do one layout, and you can do it over and over for each of the different pages that we've created. So take some time and look at these 5 different options I've given you. When you're ready, we can grab our rectangle tool. Set your fill color for now to just be a solid gray, and we don't need a stroke, so we're going to set that to 0. Using your guidelines, you can click and drag and simply draw off a rectangle that fits nicely inside of your grid. Because we're using a grid, it should be nice and easy to know exactly where to place everything. So I'm going to click and drag and set a few things here. And this is one particular way you can lay this out. Again, there's multiple ways this can be done, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel for each and everything. You simply have to do one layout for the same thing for each. Once you get a layout done, you can select all of your gray rectangles, and we'll go up to Edit and Copy. I can now select the next artboard and then Edit and Paste in Place. and I'll paste it onto here. Let's do the same for the others. Paste in place, select it. By the way, Shift-Command-V is the keyboard shortcut to be able to quickly do this. All right, now that we've established a grid and a document that we can place our logos into, let's start building out our presentation. If you haven't done so already, let's go up to File and down to Save. I'm going to call this my logo presentation. There we go. Saving it to a desktop. By the way, I'm also saving this as an Illustrator file for now. All right, with this done, I'm going to go back up to View, down to my guides, and choose to hide my guides because I don't really need to see them. Instead, now I can focus on copying over my 5 favorite logos. In my case, I'm going to put each one in the same spot for each artboard. So going over to my logo concepts, I'm going to select one, Command-C to copy it, jump back into here, and I'm going to put my black and white logo up here at the top. Scale it down to fit as needed, and make sure it's nice and centered in that area. Repeat this process for the other 4 logos that you have. Simply delete it away, come back and find a logo that you like, copy it, paste it. You may have to group it, but let it scale down and let it be placed in the same thing. Take just a moment and copy over your 5 logos now. Now that we've got 5 of our single color logos on here, let's talk a little bit about color. Most brands have some sort of colors that are associated with their brand. And part of the logo mock-up and presentation can be showcasing these colors. Now there's a bunch of different ways you can choose colors, and since this is really just for practice and for fun, there's no right or wrong colors that you could choose. But let me show you a couple of different ways that we can find different color swatches. First of all, let's designate an area for our color swatches. In my case, I'm going to put them down here at the very bottom. If you need to, you can turn on your guides by hitting Command and the colon key to be able to see where they're at. To showcase these swatches, I want to have 5 different little areas I can put things in. This means I can draw off 5 rectangles. I can even do ellipses or even rounded rectangles. Nothing says that it has to be inside of a single area. In my case, I'm going to put them in 5 different little circles. So I'll draw off one circle, and simply duplicate it by holding down the Command and the Shift key. And then when I do Command-D, I can duplicate it 4 more times. Remember, we want to keep everything inside of this area. So if you find that whatever you create is too big, simply select everything and proportionally scale it down so that it fits nicely inside of that area. It doesn't have to fill, quote unquote, all the way to the edge. It just needs to stay inside of that area. All right, now that I've got 5 different blank swatches, let's figure out some different ways we can add color to them. One of the first and easiest ways to find colors is by simply using some of your pre-existing swatch libraries. Of course, if you open the swatches panel, you've got the default swatches that tend to come with it. But if you click on the little library button at the bottom left-hand corner, this will pop out a variety of different pre-made color swatch libraries as well. The best things about these are that they're all similar tones and similar styles of colors. They tend to work really, really good together. Some are going to be better than others, but some of them will actually work out really, really good. For instance, if I wanted to choose some from a food group, I can choose vegetables. This will open up the vegetables swatch panel, and you can see I've got a variety of different pre-made type of swatches from here. In order to apply these, I simply need to click on one and then choose what I think would be best. So I'm going to pick 5 similar ones from here. Now what I don't want to do is to pick 2 colors that are too close together. If you find that you have 2 of them that are too similar, perhaps you should try doing just a different color. There's nothing sacred about the colors that you pick. The main thing is they all tend to harmonize together because they come in the same group. Let's do the same for another one. In my case, I'm going to select all 5 of these, and I'll make a copy of them over here. For this one, I'm going to choose some different color swatches. Again, clicking on the library, I can go down to things like nature and choose something from the beach or flowers or landscape. Let's do flowers. You can see some of these are going to be brighter or more muted. Some of them are going to be a specific tone or a shade. Anything that you choose, there is no wrong answer, as long as you've got 5 different options for each thing that you tend to pick. Let's choose 5 of these. Another way we can find some swatches is by using Adobe's Color. I'm going to copy these over for this one. If you go to the website color.adobe.com, this is a free and great resource tool for being able to generate beautiful palettes using Adobe's Color Picker. You can start by clicking on the Create tab, and from here you can play around with the color wheel, and you can see it gives us a variety of swatches that are down here. If you wanted to, you can also change up what kind of harmony you have and turn it into a triad type harmony, which works really well. Square harmony, complementary, anything that's you're used to working in for this. The other thing you can do is you can extract a theme, or you can search for other color palettes that other people have done. Let's go up to Explore or even Trends. They tend to give us the same thing. But in Explore, I can click and drag and scroll through all of the different things that other people have created and saved on their accounts. For instance, if I like this one, I can click on it. Since I'm logged in, I can download this as a JPEG, or if you want, you can take a screenshot. Either way, we want to be able to bring it into our document. I've got mine saved as a screenshot, so if I wanted to place this in my design, I can go to File, down to Place, find the screenshot or find the JPEG that you downloaded, and I can place it right here. Now if I want to be able to place these colors into my swatches, all I've got to do is to select the swatch and then use my eyedropper tool to click on it. I can hold down the Command key and select the next one, let go of my Command key and select this one. So this is a great, quick, and simple way of being able to incorporate swatches and use the swatches that you find in Adobe Color. Now, if you want to generate your own swatches, you can also do this by searching for pictures that have colors. I'm going to search for a picture like Christmas. Doing just a simple Google search and looking for different images, I can find images that have a certain look and feel to them, something that I really like. So let's say that I really like this picture. I can download it by right-clicking, and we'll do Save a Copy or Save As. In my case, I'll save it to the desktop. Now that I've got it saved, I can jump back into Adobe's Color panel. From here, if we go back to Create and choose Extract Theme, this will let me upload the video, the JPEG that I downloaded of the Christmas. In this case, Adobe's going to quickly try to find a variety of different colors. Now, if you don't like the colors that they have, if you think that 2 of them are too close together, you can simply click and drag around until you find something else that you do like. But using this is a great way of extracting colors from an existing photograph. As with the other one, we can take a screenshot, or you can download this as a JPEG. I'm going to do Shift-Command-4 to make a screenshot. Now that it's saved as a screenshot, I can jump back into here. Let's make a new selection of colors down here at the bottom. That looks good. And let's place this one in here. File and Place. Then if I want to use these, grab your eyedropper tool, hold down Command, and you can select the first one, and then you can pick up the colors that are appropriate for it. Hold down Command and select. With that done, we can get rid of the swatch and we're good to go. Again, these swatches don't have to be circles. It's just a fun way of laying it out. A final quick way that you can quickly generate different color swatches is by using the AI's generative or recolor tool. With it done, whoops, made another copy. I'm going to select my 5 different color swatches, it down to Edit Colors, and choose Generative Recolor. Generative Recolor allows you to type in a prompt that describes the color palette that you want. Or you can use some sample prompts. So for instance, if I've got all 5 of these selected and I wanted it to be more of a trippy disco, with one click, you may have to agree to it, it will generate a variety of different color options based on that prompt. And then I can select the ones that I like and it'll automatically recolor it for me. And those are pretty good. If I wanted something that is a little bit more different, let's say fire, trees. I have no idea what it's going to come up with. Hopefully it'll give me something with lots of reds and oranges, but maybe even throwing in some greens for the trees. Hey, this looks pretty cool right here. So the Generative Recolor is another way to quickly and easily generate a variety of different colors from the swatches that you already have. Now that we've got 5 different color swatches for each of our 5 different logos, we can start to apply them and show some alternate ways of laying out our logo. When we talk about alternate or other color logos, that simply means we're going to show what our logo would look like as if we had to make a change to it or lay it out in a different color scheme. I'm going to do that below in this second little area. So I'm going to make a copy of my logo. Once you've copied it, if you need to, now is a good time to expand anything that you have. This will include any lines or objects or text that you've got. So with it selected, I can go up to Object, down to Expand Appearance. This will break it apart. You may have to expand it one more time to expand out everything. The main thing is, once you're finished, you shouldn't have any lines. Instead, you should have just all filled in objects. Let's see what this logo would look like if I start applying colors to it. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a rectangle and send it behind everything. With it selected, I'll use my eyedropper tool. I can make it red, and I can use Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. All right, so far so good, but let's recolor our logo. With it selected, I can now change its color from black to white and see what it looks like on this type background. Or I can use an existing color and see what it looks like with those colors too. That's all that we have to do for this particular logo. Another thing you can do for your logo, let's do it for this one. Again, I'll make a copy of it. Be sure you're using your grid to make sure everything is laid out evenly. Is see what it looks like on a dark background with a lighter color. So in our case, I'm going to select my logo. Again, you may have to select it and go up to Object and expand it. And then say OK to get rid of any strokes that you have. Once this is done, now I can select my rectangle, and I know it's black, but I'm going to make it just a little bit lighter so I can see my logo. So when I send it to the back, Object, Arrange, Send Backwards, I can select my logo. I'm going to make it white. This is what it looks like as a reverse logo. In this case, it actually works out really, really good. Some logos, however, when you reverse them, they look really different, and you may have to tweak your logo just so that you can see or it shows up better on the dark background. Take some time now and go through and add color to each of your logos and play around with creating an alternate type layout. Let's do the same now for Freshway. In my case, I'm going to make a copy of Freshway. I'm going to keep that in the background. Grab my eyedropper tool and place it. Select my logo, make sure we get all of our logo, and Object, Expand Appearance. So that breaks it apart. Now I've got all fill colors, and now it's a simple matter of choosing a color that I like to see what it would look like. I kind of like the yellow. That looks good. Notice that if you also choose a dark logo on a dark background, it doesn't show up very well. Conversely, if I was to choose a light color and change it to a light background, it doesn't show up very well. Usually in these presentations, you want to have some form of light logo with a dark background or a dark logo with a light background. Let's test that with Freshway. So with Freshway, I can take this, again, Object and Expand Appearance, then Object and expand it to break everything apart. And you may have to do it more than once till we get everything. Now it's looking good. If I was to change this to a light color, there it is there. If I was to change my background to a dark color, that's what it would look like. And finally, let's do it to study corner. Expand appearance, and then expand. Then choose our colors that we want to work with. In my case, I'm going to keep it dark. I'm going to give it a light background. There really is no wrong answer when choosing colors for your logos. In our case, we simply want to showcase what it would look like if it had some different color layouts. In the final area, this is where we're going to show our mock-up. Again, yours doesn't have to follow the same layout as mine. So if your area is in some place different or has a different size or shape, that's totally fine. We can always change it up and you can use it for yours. The mock-ups that we're going to be using are the 4 that I've given to you on the Canvas page. Remember, when you download these are all Photoshop documents. Now each one is set up very similarly, so when you open up one of these mock-ups, it should be able to work no matter what. I'm going to open up my coffee mug first. Once you open this up in Photoshop, the Layers panel is where the magic really happens. So I'm going to open it up and show you this. This particular mock-up allows me to customize a lot of the look and feel of this. First of all, inside of every mock-up file, there should be a Smart Object layer that has this little icon with it. In my case, it's named Your Design. This is the smart object that allows me to place my logo onto this mug. If you double click on this logo or this layer, this is going to open up a second Photoshop file, and this is where we're going to place our design into. So let's go back into Illustrator. I'm going to select this first design and copy it. Command C or Edit and Copy. Jump back into Photoshop and do Edit, Paste. And when we paste it, we're simply going to bring it in as pixels. Now remember, Photoshop does want you to scale it and size it, so I'm going to scale it till I get to the size that I want, and we're going to keep it nice and in the center. I can go ahead and turn off the previous design, and you can see this is pasted nicely inside of here. It also provided me with a color overlay of white, so in this case you can see it turns my color automatically white. If I did want to change it, I can double click on this one, I can choose it to be whatever color I want it to be. This is a great way of recoloring your art. Once we're done, we can hit Save. Now comes the major part. Make sure to go up to File and save this smart object. When you close it out, you can see how it automatically replaces itself on top of our mug. In this case, the mug is also able to change the mug's color. If I open up the little folder, I'll see I've got a smart or a adjustment layer, and when I click on this layer, this will allow me to change the color inside of the properties. So if I wanted to see it look something different, this is a great simple way of being able to change it up and seeing that too. I kind of like that. Or I could make it super light, even a white mug. Maybe even that looks good too. Once you get something that you like, let's say I like this, we'll say OK. I can save this as a JPEG to place inside of my Illustrator document. So let's go to File, do Save a Copy. The format for this is going to be a JPEG, and I'm going to call it my Logo 1 coffee mug for now. Again, format is JPEG, and we'll hit Save, and we'll keep it a maximum quality. Now that I've got this design saved as a JPEG, let's jump back into our Illustrator document and let's place it inside of this area. I'm going to put it inside of this particular rectangle. So if I go to File and Place, let's find my little logo. There it is. We'll hit Place. I can click and drag and roughly place it onto here. So right off the bat, you can see I've got a little bit of a problem. My image is horizontal while my work area is going to be very tall and vertical, and I need it to fit inside of this area. Well, there's a couple of things I could do. First of all, I could scale it down and try to fit it inside of here, but that's going to leave a large open area down at the bottom. I could fill it in with other mock-ups, but that's going to be extra work. Instead, let's see how large we can create it. Now, if I was to crop this down, I wouldn't be able to see my mug, so it's way too large for this. Let's see if we can find a happy medium. I'm going to scale my coffee mug up as large as I can get it to fill out the area. Then I'm going to use my existing shape of my gray rectangle and make a copy of it. So copy, and I'm going to paste it right in front of everything, so it's on top of this one. Again, this is a copy. If you select the rectangle and your picture, you can go up to Edit and go up to Object, down to Clipping Mask, and choose Make. This will place your mug inside of that overall area and it'll crop it down nicely. From here, I can then select my gray rectangle that's behind it, and let's change it to match the color of what's behind the background of the mug. So with the gray rectangle selected, I can choose my eyedropper tool and click on it, and now you can see how it roughly blends in pretty well. If I need to adjust the position of my mug, I can simply double click on it and go into isolation mode, and this will let me move my mug down and into position. Again, it's not perfect, but it's just a basic mock-up, and that's one easy way of doing it. In our case, we made a rectangle that matched the background, and we cropped it to fit on the inside of it. Let's do another mock-up for study hour. Again, we don't need this one, so let's close out this document. We don't have to save it. Let's open up another one, in this case the sign. In this case, if you look in the Layers panel in Photoshop, we may have to open up the adjustments, and you can see what the adjustments are giving us. But here is our smart object. Double click on it, and once again, replace the logo as inside of this smart object. So in this case, it has more than one nested inside of it. Now that we're here, let's copy and paste over our logo. So select it, Command C to copy, jump back into Photoshop, Command V to paste it as pixels. We can get rid of our original logo by turning off its visibility. We'll say OK to it. When we save this one, this will update to here, and then finally we can save this one and it will update it back to the original. Now that this is done, let's save this as a JPEG. File, save a copy. This will be Logo 2 Mockup. Make sure your format is of a JPEG and hit Save. We'll say OK to the options. Now let's see if we can get it to work inside of this area. We'll go up to File and Place. Choose our second little mock-up and then drag it. In our case, again, it doesn't work very well to fit inside of this area. So let's see what it would look like if I could scale it up and still get it to fit. I'm going to make a copy and paste of that that rectangle, gray rectangle. Select both of them. Go up to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. Now to resize it, I can double click. Let's see how large I can make it to see if it will fill out the entire area. Again, it's going to simply crop itself way too big, but that's okay. We can try our trick to see what it would look like to fill in the background as a color. Select my gray background, get my eyedropper tool. It doesn't look too bad, but it is kind of awkward with the way it's cropped off down here at the bottom. If this is the case, sometimes you can get away with, as long as you can get it large enough, simply having your mock-up nice and in the center of this area and not have to fill out the overall top and bottom. Or we can choose a different one that frames it out and that matches everything else from here. As long as the layout fits and looks nice, that's what we're going for. Let's do another one for Freshway. Again, we don't need this one, so we'll close it out, not save it. In our case, now let's do one for this letterhead. You can use the same mock-ups for each one. Don't think that you have to keep it exactly the same for all of your designs. Again, here's our smart object, so I'll double click it. Let's copy over this logo, Command C, Command V to paste it. We'll delete away that one. In this case, we'll go up to File and Save. When we close this one out, you can see how this would look on this black background. Now in this case, I don't necessarily like the black on black type look. I want it to show up a little bit better. Let's go back to our logo. I want to quickly be able to recolorize this one. If this is the case, the easiest thing to do would be to recolorize it in your vector format. Or if you're already in Photoshop, one thing you can add is an effects layer on top of it. The effect that we're going to use is a color overlay. The color overlay style allows you to pick whatever color you want it to be. In my case, I kind of like this light blue. You can see now it's applying that color overlay to that layer. When I save it now and close it out, it automatically updates for my design. Again, let's go to File and Save as a copy. We'll call this Logo Mockup 3. Make sure JPEG is your format. And let's place it in here. Again, to place it inside of the rectangle needs to be on top. Select both of them. Then you can go to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. And again, to size it, you simply double click on it. That will let you select your object and you can make it whatever size you need it to be. In this case, this one actually scales up and looks really nice once it's large. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. That looks good. You can then double click to go out of isolation mode. Repeat this process for the other two that you have for your designs. And again, you can use the same mock-up over and over again. Don't think that you have to use all of them. All right, for the sake of time, the last thing I want to do is to show you how to save each one of these as a JPEG that you're going to upload to the Canvas page. Once you've got all 5 of your presentations ready, go up to File, down to Export, and we're going to export these as something. This will allow us to change the format that we're changing everything to. In my case, I'm going to put them in a new folder, and this will be my logo presentation. Now, the format we're going to save these are going to be as JPEGs, and make sure to use the artboards. This will allow us to break each one as its own separate JPEG for each artboard, and we're going to use all of them. I'm going to change the name of this as Option, and you'll see why in just a second. When I hit Export, this will ask me for my options for how do I want to save my JPEG. Let's make them high quality JPEG, large files with a high resolution, 300 pixels per inch. We'll say OK to this. That looks good. Now on my desktop, I should have a folder that has all of my options, option 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, all laid out. Because we used a grid and a similar layout for each one, they all look similar and they all work together really, really well. If I was working with a client, this is how I would showcase their logo. Show it as a black and white, mocked up as a different color, mocked up inside of some sort of photograph, and also a variety of different color options for them to choose from. For this particular class project, you're going to upload to the project portion of this your 5 different logo compositions. You don't have to upload your 30 compositions into this area. You're going to do that in the other one. All right. Again, I hope you enjoy your time off today. Feel free to work on this over the weekend, and you'll have next Tuesday to be able to talk about it and show me if you have any problems or questions. Next Tuesday, we will begin a new unit and start on something fresh. All right, have a great day.